Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rivoli, and in this video I'm going to share some very basic paper presentation tips and things like from which section you should start, and I'm going to tell you all that subject wise. So do stay till the end and let's start. So very firstly, let me tell you some basic tips which work for all the subjects is that you should mention the section that you are starting with. You don't have to attempt the questions randomly, like firstly you attempt question 20 of section B, then you attempt question 31 of section D. You don't have to do it like this because it is just messy, and it also messes with the examiners, like the one checking your sheet. They will face problem in checking and just turning their question paper again and then seeing and then checking your answer. They will be a bit frustrated. It's not easy to it's easy if you just attempt questions in series, but I get it that we don't really know each and every question in series. But what we can do is start a particular section. Like suppose I start with section B because I know the most of the questions from that section. Suppose I start with section C because I know most of the questions in that section. So I'll just put a heading on the top, that section C, and then I'll do those questions series wise, so that will be easier for the examiner, for the teacher to check your answer sheet, and they can just check, give you marks, check the next question, give you marks, check the next question, give you marks. They will not have to turn their paper again and again, so it will be a bit easier for them, and maybe it will be easier for you to get marks. So yeah, do follow this for every subject. Start with the section you know most of the questions of, and put a heading of whatever section you are starting. Like suppose I put section B at the top, then do all the questions of section B, and then when I start the other section, I'll put section C, and then I'll put section A, I'll put section D, so it will be easier. And in case you don't know one or two of the questions of section B, or that, like, you can just leave some space for that and do that afterwards. So yeah, also this is a tip that you should really follow because it is helpful. It is that you should, in theory subjects like English, Hindi, Science, SST, IT, सारी हो गई तो so like in the after you are finished with writing the answer, you can leave 1 to 3 lines, so that afterwards, like after attempting the paper, after some time, if suddenly a point comes into your mind, that you can add in that particular question, so you have space to add something in that later on. So do leave some lines there, so that after some time, if you suddenly remember a point, or after revising you remember a point, or in context to any other questions you remember anything to that other question, so you have space to write more 1 or 2 points, so you can do that. Now let's move on to subject wise tips. So first of all, let's start with English. In English, do write neatly in the start, and it is pretty much it for all of the subjects, because in the start you can just write neatly, minimum 1-2 pages, just write neatly, so that the teacher's mind is not frustrated to see the first page of your sheet where she can't understand anything, and it will not be easy for her or him. So write a bit neatly in the first pages, then after we just rush and just scribble things because time is left, I know that, but in the start just write it neatly. And in English we have a lot of content to write, 6 markers questions and all of that, so do proper spacing, ज़्यादा खिंच पिच ना हो, and the teacher can easily differentiate where this question is separate and this question is separate. Don't mix the answers and make them look like they are one. Leave lines in between, so that it looks neat as well as easier for the teacher to check. Also underline the key points in the answers. That's very important, because when the teacher check it, they are more focused on the underlined words, so do underline the important keywords of the chapters of the answer. And if you remember the author's name, so if there's a question, so just you can mention the author's name in that answer too, like author or poet, anything. At this point, the poet Robert Frost means that, and just continue the answer. So you can mention the author's or poet's name if you remember that, so it will be a plus point. Next is how to attempt this paper, like from which section to start. I would suggest that start in sequence, like section A, B, C, like that only, because in section A there's unseen passage and like the reading section, and those are like very typical unseen passages, very critical thinking type of thing, and they need a lot of thinking in answering those questions of the paragraph, because those are like very much thinking based. You have to think about the answer. You can't just directly find the answers from the paragraph, because there are no direct answers. They ask you question in essence of that paragraph, not directly. So for that you have to think that what is the question trying to ask. So for that, when you are starting your paper, your mind is fresh, so you can think about that more efficiently, more nicely, and answer that more nicely. So when you are fresh in the exam, so you can just focus and think more about that passage, and in the end there will be rush, you will be running out of time, and then you will not be able to think to that level, and maybe it will confuse you even more, or you can be panicked that how I'm going to do this, because unseen passages are really not easy now. So yeah, do start with unseen passages. Next, do the grammar and the writing section, because in that also you have to think, and like I'm saying to do the literature part in the end, because you have already studied those chapters, you know the stories, you know the context of every question, and when you see the question you can just write anything about that chapter, because you have read all that, and you will not much thinking will be required. Suppose if you are running out of time, so you in the last, if you leave that literature part for the end, you can just write without thinking, because you can just write without thinking much, because you already know the story and what could be the answer of this, so you don't have to think much, and you can just write in speed. But if you leave the unseen passages, grammar, writing section for the end, you have to think that what should I write next. In writing section there are letters and all that, so you have to think a bit, right, ki what do I write next, how do I form the sentence, how do I write more in this. So you have to think a bit. In grammar too, you have to think that which option could be correct, and unseen passages, a whole lot of thinking thing. So literature is the only thing that already, that what can I, whatever, like you can just write. So yeah, leave the literature part for the end, and first start with reading section, then writing and grammar, and at the end literature one. Same for Hindi. Write neatly in the start, good spacing, and sequence the same, because in this also you have reading, then writing, and then literature and all that. So in this also you have to think about the passages and all that. Apatit gadyansh, apatit padyansh, you have to think about it, and especially in the apatit padyansh, because they give you a kavita and they ask you questions, and वो कविता आपने पढ़ी तक नहीं है, and उसका मीनिंग समझना इज़ डिफ़िकल्ट टास्क, बिकॉज जो हम स्कूल में पढ़ते हैं उसका मीनिंग तो हमें टीचर समझा देते हैं, हम यूट्यूब से देख लेते हैं, बट उस टाइम पे वो कविता हम पहली बार देख रहे होते हैं, सो सोचना पड़ता है बहुत ज़्यादा कि इस वर्ड का क्या मीनिंग हो सकता है, ये लाइन क्या दर्शाना चाहती है, तो वो वाली चीज़ आपको पहले करनी चाहिए, इसके लिए आपको ज़्यादा सोचना पड़ रहा है. एंड आफ्टर दैट यू कैन जस्ट डू द ग्रामर वन. उसमें भी ग्रामर थोड़ी टिपिकल सी लगती थी मुझे, तो ऑफ कोर्स आफ्टर दैट do the grammar too, because उसमें भी you have to think a bit, and in the end just leave those book value questions, literature, and all of that. So in this also you can underline the key points. Now next is maths. So in maths, first of all, let's see which section you should start from. Is in which section you know most of the questions. Matlab, if you start, suppose you start the most weightage ones, like you can do that if you know the questions. But if you don't know the questions and you're just starting the highest weightage wale questions, and you are not able to solve it, then you will be demotivated and will not be confident enough to do the rest of the paper, and you might do some mistakes in the next questions too. So the better thing is to start with a section that you know most of the questions of, so that you gain confidence, you will be more motivated, and maybe you will do better in the other questions. So right, I'll suggest you, after doing the section that you know most of the questions of, after that you can try to attempt the case studies, because in that you have to think about the case studies. And when you have attempted that section, then you have confidence and you are motivated, and if you do the case study next, then you will be able to think, you will be able to decode what we have to do in this question. And after that, just do it to weightage wise. Like suppose you started with section C फर्स्ट, जिसमें से आपको सारे क्वेश्चन आते थे, एंड और ज़रूरी नहीं कि आपको सारे क्वेश्चन आने चाहिए, यू कैन लीव द स्पेस, और अगर इतना ही ज़्यादा है तो कोई बात नहीं, एक आध क्वेश्चन एंड में करना बनता है, चलता है ना. तो सो जस्ट स्टार्ट विद द सेक्शन यू नो, then case studies, because you'll be motivated. Next, just attempt it weightage wise, like सबसे highest weightage किसकी है, and then the lower ones and lower. Attempt the MCQs in the end, they take a lot of time. मतलब उसमें पूरा solve करना पड़ता है, those are like not direct, we have to solve each and every MCQ, so it takes a lot of time, and it holds a value of just 1 mark. So do it in the end, and firstly score the higher weightage questions first. And in this also give a lot of spacing and put the answer in the box if you are confident that this is the correct answer, or else don't. So and draw the figure of if there's a figure in the question, then draw it in the sheet, and always write the formulas, always, because step marking, why to lose the marks. And also write the reasons in the bracket in those questions like triangles and circles and all that. Write the reasons in the bracket always. Now science. So in this also start with the section you are most confident about. Like I think now in 10th paper the sections are divided into physics, chemistry and bio, right? So start with the one you are most confident about, suppose bio or chemistry or physics, any, and start with that section. Suppose there's a chemistry question, and there's like 2 marker or 3 marker, 4 marker question. So you can mention the chemical equation if it's talked about in the question, so you can mention the chemical equation too with that. In physics, always write the formula. In bio, if you think that you can make some diagram out of this question, make that roughly diagram, and always give examples if you can for that question. And this is it for science. Now let's move on to SST. So in this also I think the sections are now divided into history, geography, economics, civics. So start with the section you are most confident about again, because this is the key to gain confidence and do nice in the rest of the paper, believe me. Because if you start with the most toughest one, then you will lose confidence, and you might not be able to think, and you might worry that, oh my god, did I forget everything, how will I do it? So it's best to start with the ones you know the answer to. And always write the SST questions in pointers. It's better to do that, to do it in that way. Always write the points. If there's a 2 mark question, then you can write 3 points. If there's 3 mark question, you can write 5 points. If there's a 6 mark question, you can write 8 to 9 points. Next is IT. In IT there's not much tips, it's just that you should start with MCQs, because those are a bit tricky, so you might need time to think about those MCQs. So start with the MCQs, and then later on you can do the writing part where you have to answer those questions. And And I just wanted to tell you that I thought to upload this paper presentation thing in November, but then I thought that half yearlies are about to start, and this is the best time to analyze your mistakes, to try what method is working with you. Like I told you all these methods, now you can try these methods. If they don't work for you, try your own method. I also talked to my best friend about this, and she also suggested that yes, this is the time they can do mistakes and analyze them, so that they don't do that in the board, in the finals. So I hope I helped you in this. Do try every method you can in these half yearlies, PTs, and pre-board 1, pre-board 2, so that you are familiar and you know how to attempt your paper in the boards, in the final examinations. And you will be confident that yes, I have an idea. And yeah, you can also try these methods in sample papers when you attempt those at the practice time at January time, or whatever, whenever you do it. Just try the method which works best for you. You have to figure it out. So I have uploaded videos of how to study a particular subject, like all the subjects: English, Hindi, Math, Sciences, ST, IT. I have uploaded that. You can find the links in the description, so you can watch how to study a particular the particular subjects. And yeah, that's it for this video. I hope I helped you, and do subscribe if you haven't yet. Let's meet in the next video. Till then, take care and bye.